The last thing I want to mention is, well, I want to talk a little bit about how this B section is a B section. Because we talk, we can say, oh, there's an A and a B, and you might say that, well, the B is caused by a new melody. Well, that's sort of true, but we see how much similarity there is in terms of rhythm between the A here and the B. So is it really that? Is it just melody? Well, it's certainly not. So what is it? Well, to be honest, it's a lot of things. One of the things that it's not, really, is rhythm, because rhythm is used to create a kind of consistency. One thing that is used, though, is that we get a new melodic shape. For certain, that's a new element here. What else, though? Well, we get a new harmonic progression. That's another dimension of it. But even, perhaps more importantly, what we find in these few bars, and it's a very short contrast that exists here, but in these few bars that we have, is that Mozart actually changes the texture to a small degree. Here we have homophony. Sorry, here we have homorythmic homophony. Here we have homophony as well, but look at the new relationships. This isn't about chords anymore. This is about an arpeggiated bass part that could very easily be played by, say, a viola, even violin, and a melodic line. Here we had a melodic line, but chord accompaniment with it. Here we have three voices. If one was to transcribe this for an ensemble, you'd immediately see that you've got three voices going on here. Melody here, this E that you have held, and this lower voice. Contrast that, at least for these first two bars, into a setting that really would be appropriate for two voices or two instruments. We have a melodic instrument and we have an arpeggiated figure in the other instrument that's providing the harmony and accompaniment. Of course, we go back to something similar to the A section when we get to this bar here. So the idea of contrast is not just melodic contrast or a new melodic idea. It also comes down to the harmony that you're using, the texture that you're using, the relationship between instruments that you're using. It can even come down to the register in which the instruments are placed. So now you see that these different texture types that we learned, well, they're not just being learned so that you understand the different texture types that are used in music. No, instead they become resources for composition. That in fact one needs to know how to do homorythmic homophony, and one needs to know how to do counterpoint, and one needs to know how to do melody and accompaniment, and create an accompaniment passage for an instrument and elaborate a melody. Because those are now tools for composition. And a form is articulated fundamentally by either similarity or contrast. Repetition with some difference, which is really similarity, or exact repetition, that's also a possibility, or contrast. But when we want to make something contrasting, we need to have the tools to create something contrasting. If we only knew how to do homorythmic homophony, our toolbox would be too empty for us to create rich music. So in the assignment for this week, please keep this in mind. Review your toolbox. See what you have there. And remember, go through your toolbox when you're putting together your own rounded binary work. Go through your toolbox. Remind yourself of what's there that is available to you to shape and craft the kind of music and musical experiences that you're after.